Have you ever felt like life is pushing you to your limit? Like the walls are closing in, and no matter how hard you try, everything just seems to be falling apart. Relationships, plans, even your sense of purpose. You wake up exhausted, carry around a quiet heaviness, and wonder if things will ever get better. But what if I told you that these dark moments aren't signs that you're failing? They're signals that something extraordinary is on the horizon? What if the chaos, the setbacks, and even the loneliness you're feeling right now are not a dead end, but a turning point? You see, life has a strange way of preparing us for transformation, and it rarely looks like a peaceful sunrise. Most of the time it feels like a storm. But here's the truth most people miss. The darkest moments in your life often come right before your greatest breakthroughs. Think about the butterfly. Before it ever spreads its wings, it must first fight its way out of the cocoon. It doesn't know what's waiting on the other side. It just knows that the struggle is real, and it keeps pushing anyway. That's what these moments are for you. They're not punishment. They're preparation. And if you've been feeling off lately, like you're stuck or lost or like something inside you is shifting, you might be right on schedule. Because whether you realize it or not, life is always giving you signs. The question is, are you paying attention? In this video, we're going to explore 9 powerful signs that your life is about to change radically, beautifully, and permanently. And if even one of these signs feels familiar to you, then you're not alone. You're not lost. You're evolving. So take a deep breath. Let go of the fear, because this might just be the moment everything begins to shift for the better. Let's dive in. Sign 1, you feel an urge to change. Have you ever woken up and felt deep down that something in your life just doesn't fit anymore? Maybe it's not one specific thing. Your job still pays the bills. Your relationships look fine on the surface. Your routine hasn't changed. And yet, something inside you feels off, like you're wearing clothes that used to fit, but now they're too tight. You can't quite breathe the same way. You've changed, but your life hasn't caught up yet. That uncomfortable tension, that quiet sense of this isn't it, it's not a problem. It's a sign. You're not bored. You're not being ungrateful. What you're feeling is a deeper knowing, your soul telling you it's time to grow. Most people ignore that voice. They tell themselves it's just a mood, a phase, something sleep or vacation will fix. But that's not true growth. Real growth doesn't come wrapped in comfort. It often starts with discontent, with a whisper that something needs to shift. Even if you don't know exactly what or why. Think about nature. When a plant outgrows its pot, it doesn't feel at peace. It feels constrained. And unless it's replanted, it begins to wither. The same happens to us. We're not meant to stay in the same season forever. And that ache for change you feel, that's your roots pushing into new soil. When your soul matures faster than your surroundings, you begin to feel the misalignment. The conversations that once energized you now feel draining. The habits you relied on start to lose meaning. Even your goals begin to evolve. It can be confusing, but it's necessary. Because transformation doesn't happen in stillness. It begins in motion. The real question is, will you listen? Because the longer you ignore the call to change, the louder the discomfort will become. Until one day staying the same will hurt more than taking the leap. So if you're feeling this urge, this pull to move, to shift, to reinvent, don't suppress it. Don't drown it out with noise or guilt. Sit with it. Listen to it. Trust that it's leading you somewhere your current self can't fully imagine, but your future self will thank you for. you're not broken. You're not lost. You're just outgrowing your old life. And that's the first sign that something beautiful is about to begin. Sign 2, unexpected opportunities begin to appear. Sometimes life doesn't give you a grand announcement that change is coming. It doesn't send flashing signs or a clear roadmap. Instead, it sends something small, quiet, almost easy to overlook. Maybe it's a message from someone you hadn't heard from in years, a chance encounter that sparks an idea, a job offer you weren't expecting, a conversation that stays in your mind longer than it should, and suddenly your mind begins to shift. A part of you wakes up. You feel something. That something is not random. It's a signal, a whisper from the universe saying, hey, pay attention. This matters. You see, big transformations rarely come all at once. They begin with these subtle invitations, tiny doors that open, just a crack. And the truth is, most people miss them, not because they don't want change, but because they're waiting for it to look a certain way. We expect transformation to be loud, clear, impressive. But in reality, the most important shifts in your life will often arrive quietly, wrapped in ordinary moments. Think about it. How many people stumbled into success simply because they said yes to something small? A side project, a last-minute meeting, a gut feeling. They didn't know it would change their life, but it did. Here's the key. You must be willing to act, even when the opportunity looks too small to matter. Because that first step, that tiny moment, it could be the beginning of everything. Let me ask you, have you dismissed something recently because it didn't feel big enough? Are there ideas, offers, or people in your life right now that you've brushed aside simply because they didn't match the picture you had in your head? What if that was your open door? When these chances show up, don't wait for clarity. Move. Explore. Lean in. The universe doesn't reward hesitation. It rewards courage. So if you're seeing little windows of possibility appear around you, don't underestimate them. Don't brush them off, because the next chapter of your life may not come through a loud knock. It may slip in through a whisper. Be ready to answer. Sign 3, you begin to question yourself. There comes a moment, quiet but powerful, when you start asking yourself questions that stop you in your tracks. Who am I really? What do I actually want? Why am I even doing all this? And at first it can feel unsettling. You might even think something's wrong with you. After all, these aren't the questions people around you typically ask out loud. Society rewards those who keep going, stay busy, follow the script, not the ones who stop and look deeper. But here's a truth most people miss. When you start questioning yourself, you're not breaking down. You're waking up. Because the people who never ask these questions, they're often the ones stuck in autopilot, living but not really alive. It takes courage to pause, even more to reflect. And only those who are truly ready to grow ever dare to ask, is this really me? That moment when your old goals start to feel hollow, when success no longer feels fulfilling, when your routines feel like a performance, that's not confusion. That's awareness. It means you've reached a point in your journey where surface-level answers no longer satisfy your soul. You're no longer content chasing what others told you to want. You want something real, and that desire, that questioning, it's the seed of transformation. You see, before you change your life, you must first confront your truth. And that truth often starts with a simple, honest question. Maybe you've spent years building a life that looks good on paper, but feels off inside. Maybe you've been saying yes to things that no longer reflect who you've become. Maybe you've realized you've outgrown the version of yourself you've been trying to protect. So if you're starting to question things lately, don't panic. Don't rush to silence the doubt. Lean into it, because asking, "Who am I?" isn't a sign of weakness. It's a sign that your soul is ready for something more, something deeper, something true. And no, you may not have all the answers yet, but the fact that you're even asking, that's how all meaningful change begins. So take a breath, be honest with yourself, and keep going, because the real you, the one you're meant to become, is already waiting on the other side of those questions. Sign 4. Old relationships begin to fade. Have you noticed that some people in your life, people who once felt like family, are slowly drifting away? The conversations aren't the same. The energy feels off. What used to flow naturally now feels forced or awkward. And sometimes there's no big fight, no dramatic exit, just distance. Quiet, slow distance. At first, it hurts. You wonder if you did something wrong. You replay old memories and think, weren't we supposed to be in this together? But here's a truth many people struggle to accept. Not everyone is meant to stay in your life forever. Some people were only meant to walk with you for a season, not a lifetime. They were part of your growth, your healing, your past, but not necessarily your future. Think of it like a story. Every chapter has characters, some central, some passing through. But as the story evolves, the cast often changes. That doesn't mean the previous chapters weren't meaningful. It just means the next chapter requires something or someone different. It's a form of spiritual pruning. You're not being punished. You're being cleared. And as painful as it feels, this is actually one of the clearest signs that you're leveling up. When your mindset grows, your energy shifts, and not everyone will be able or willing to meet you where you're headed. The mistake many people make is trying to drag the past into the future, trying to hold on to people who were only meant to teach them one lesson. But when you cling to what no longer fits, you block what's trying to enter. So if you've been feeling lonely, misunderstood, disconnected from people you used to love, take a moment to reframe it. You're not losing, you're aligning. The universe has a way of removing what's no longer serving you so you can make space for what's meant for you. Let go with love. Honor what was, but don't be afraid to outgrow old connections, because sometimes the people you miss were only meant to be a beautiful part of your then, but not your next. And the truth is, your next chapter, it's going to need a different kind of tribe. Sign 5, you feel lost and confused. Have you ever reached a point where nothing makes sense anymore? Where the path ahead feels foggy, your motivation disappears, and even the things you once cared about now feel distant? You wake up in the morning not knowing what you're working toward. You go through the motions, but deep down you're wondering, what am I doing with my life? If this sounds familiar, take a deep breath, because you're not broken. You're not behind. You're in the middle of a transition, and transitions often feel like chaos. It's what happens when the old version of you no longer fits, but the new version hasn't fully arrived yet. You're in between stories. The old chapter is ending, and the next one hasn't been written. And in that gap, confusion is natural. Think of a butterfly in its cocoon. It doesn't know what's coming. It can't see the wings. It just feels darkness, pressure, stillness. But what it doesn't know is that everything happening inside that cocoon is preparing it to fly. That's what this moment is for you, the disorientation you feel, that sense of being lost. It's not failure, it's transformation in progress. Most people think clarity comes first, and then action follows. But more often than not, it works the other way around. We step into the unknown, we feel lost, and then the clarity starts to form. It's through the wandering that we discover the next path. So if you feel like you've lost your way, if your life doesn't quite fit anymore, don't panic. It means something inside you is shifting. It means you're evolving. And yes, it's uncomfortable. Growth always is. But what if you're not falling apart? What if you're falling into place? What if this space of confusion is exactly where your next chapter begins? Trust the process. Trust yourself. And know that the most meaningful transformations often begin when we finally admit we have no idea what comes next. Because that moment, that lost, quiet moment, it's not the end of your story. It's the exact place where your real story begins. Sign 6, you're deeply focused on self-improvement. Have you recently found yourself hungry for growth? Like out of nowhere, you suddenly want to read more, learn more, move your body, shift your mindset, let go of old habits, and build new ones that actually support the life you want. Maybe you're reading books that never used to interest you. You're drawn to deeper conversations. You feel the urge to wake up earlier, to eat better, to say no to things that drain you, even if you used to tolerate them for years. This isn't a coincidence. And it's not just a motivational phase or a temporary high from watching a self-help video. This is something other. This is preparation. When your soul senses that something greater is coming, it starts preparing you even before you fully understand why. You don't train for a marathon after it starts. You train long before the starting line is even visible. That's exactly what's happening here. There's a version of you, stronger, wiser, more aligned, waiting just around the corner. And right now, you're in the building phase, the sharpening phase, the phase where you start taking yourself more seriously. And maybe you don't even know what you're preparing for yet. That's okay, because something inside you does. This deep focus on self-improvement is your inner self whispering, "Get ready, something is coming, and you'll need to rise to meet it." Don't ignore it, don't downplay it, and don't let others make you feel like you're being too intense or trying too hard. They don't feel what you feel. They don't see what's being built beneath the surface. But you do. You're not just chasing goals. You're becoming the kind of person who can handle what you once only dreamed of. And that's powerful. So if you feel the urge to grow lately, to clean your environment, to protect your time, to be more intentional with your energy, lean into it. It's not just self-help, it's soul preparation. Your future is calling you higher, and you're finally starting to answer. Sign 7, you feel a strange calm in the chaos. Sometimes the world feels like it's falling apart. You're surrounded by stress, financial pressure, relationship tension, uncertainty about your next steps. And yet, somewhere deep inside, there's a strange calm, a quiet confidence you can't explain. You're not ignoring the chaos. You're not numb, but you're not panicking either. It's as if something inside you knows, this storm isn't here to destroy me. It's here to move me. That sense of peace, that stillness you feel in the middle of the noise, it's not weakness, it's wisdom. You've entered what I call the eye of the storm, that sacred space at the center of it all, where clarity lives even when everything around you is spinning. This doesn't mean life is perfect. Far from it. Things might still be falling apart on the outside, but your soul isn't shaking anymore. Why? Because some part of you has stopped resisting. You've stopped fighting what you can't control. You've stopped chasing every answer. You've stopped needing things to make sense before you feel safe. And in doing so, you've found something rare. Trust. The kind of trust that doesn't come from knowing how it all works out, but from knowing that whatever happens, you'll find a way through it. This is a huge turning point in your growth, because when you find peace before the breakthrough comes, it means your soul already knows that change is on the way. It senses alignment even before your mind can make sense of it. You've probably seen it in others too, people who were going through their darkest days but still carried themselves with strength and grace. They weren't naive. They were grounded because they understood that storms don't come to break you. They come to clear a path. So if you're in the middle of chaos right now but somehow feel calm, don't doubt that feeling. Don't dismiss it. It's a sign that you're exactly where you need to be, and that something greater is unfolding, even if you can't see it yet. Remember, peace isn't what comes after the storm. True peace is what shows up when you finally realize you were built for it. Sign 8. You're experiencing a series of setbacks. Lately, it might feel like everything is going wrong, one thing after another. Plans fall apart, doors close, people disappoint you. Just when you think you've handled one issue, another shows up, and it's exhausting. But what if I told you this isn't a sign you're on the wrong path? It's a sign that something big is building. Because here's what most people don't realize. Before every major breakthrough, life will test you, not to punish you, but to prepare you. Think of a bow and arrow. The farther the bowstring is pulled back, the more powerful the shot when it's released. The tension, the resistance, the backward pull, it's what creates forward momentum. Right now, that might be you. You're being pulled, stretched, pressed, not because you're failing, but because you're being positioned for a launch. It's in these seasons of setback that strength is forged. You learn patience. You build resilience. You sharpen your focus. You become the kind of person who doesn't just want growth, but can handle what growth actually demands. And let's be honest, growth isn't pretty. It doesn't always feel inspiring. Sometimes it looks like late nights, closed doors, and moments of self-doubt. But here's the truth. Setbacks are not the opposite of progress. They're part of it. Every powerful person you admire, every leader, every success story, they've been through seasons just like this. Seasons where nothing made sense, where they questioned everything, where they almost gave up. But they didn't, and neither should you, because what feels like a breakdown is often just the setup for a breakthrough. So if you're in the middle of setbacks right now, don't see it as a dead end. See it as the tension before the release, the pressure before the shift, the quiet storm before the rise. Hold steady, keep showing up, and trust that this moment isn't here to defeat you. It's here to make sure you're strong enough for what comes next. Sign 9. You feel out of place in your current environment. Have you ever looked around and realized you just don't feel like you belong anymore? Maybe it's your job. The work that once excited you now feels heavy, repetitive, or meaningless. Maybe it's your circle of friends. The conversations feel shallow. The energy feels off. Or maybe it's your lifestyle, your daily routine, your habits, even your surroundings that once felt comfortable, but now feels like a cage. If any of this sounds familiar, you're not broken. You're outgrowing your old environment. It's one of the clearest signs that something inside you is shifting. And the strange part, nothing outside may have changed, but inside you have. You see, personal growth doesn't always announce itself with fireworks. Sometimes it shows up as quiet discomfort, a nagging sense that this just doesn't fit me anymore. And it doesn't mean you've become negative or disconnected. It means you're evolving. Think of it like wearing a jacket that used to fit perfectly. You loved it. It served its purpose. But now it's too tight, restricting. That's not a sign the jacket is bad. It's just a sign that you've grown. When you start feeling misaligned with your environment, it's easy to blame yourself. You might wonder, why can't I just be content like I used to be? But the truth is that version of you no longer exists. You're not here to shrink yourself to fit the old mold. You're here to expand into the next version of you. That tension you feel, it's not something to fear. It's a message. It's your inner self saying, it's time to move, to explore, to stretch, to step into places that match who you're becoming, not who you used to be. And no, you don't need to have it all figured out. You just need to trust the feeling. Because growth often starts with recognizing what no longer resonates before you even know what comes next. So if your current life feels too small for you, don't ignore that signal. Don't try to force yourself to fit back in. You're not the problem. You're the evidence that change is already happening. It's not about abandoning everything. It's about being honest with yourself and brave enough to follow that feeling. Because the life you're meant to live, it won't feel like a cage. It will feel like home. If you've recognized yourself in even one of the signs we talked about today, pause for a moment. Don't panic. Don't rush to fix or force things back to normal, because maybe things aren't falling apart. Maybe they're falling into place. When life starts to shake, we often assume we're doing something wrong, that we've lost control, that we've messed up. But what if the opposite is true? What if the confusion, the setbacks, the unexpected changes are not signs of failure, but signs of realignment? Because growth doesn't always feel like progress. Sometimes it feels like discomfort, like loss, like chaos. But in truth, it's just life clearing the way, removing what no longer fits so something better can arrive. You're not being punished. You're being positioned. And I know it's hard to trust what you can't see. It's hard to stay hopeful when everything around you feels uncertain. But that's exactly where transformation begins, right in the middle of the unknown. So instead of resisting the shift, lean into it. Instead of asking, why is this happening to me? Try asking, what is this preparing me for? Because after the storm comes the clearest skies. After the discomfort comes clarity. And sometimes the most beautiful chapters of your life begin at the exact moment it feels like everything is falling apart. So breathe. Let go of the need to control it all. And trust that where you are right now is exactly where you're meant to be. You're not stuck. You're not lost. You're evolving. And the next chapter, it just might be the most powerful one yet. If this message resonated with you, don't keep it to yourself. Like this video if even one sentence gave you clarity. Subscribe if you want more insights that speak to your soul. And in the comments, tell me, which of these signs are you experiencing right now? I read every message, and I'd love to hear your story. You're not alone on this path, and sometimes all it takes is one reminder to keep going. So here it is. You're closer than you think.